Hola, bonjour. I hope you're all doing well. So, part of my blog, I wanted to do a business tips, business etiquette on how to do business in different cultures. So, this video is about how to do business in the Netherlands, how to do business with the Dutch. So, in case you get a job there, you have to relocate there, you have Dutch suppliers, you have Dutch clients, you have a meeting there, and you want to be prepared and avoid culture shock because, as you know, doing business globally is not only about selling your product, it's also about being cultural sensitive, knowing about the cultures, respecting the cultures, so that you can have a good meeting and good business overall. So here it goes. As you know, I work between Monaco and the Netherlands. I spent a lot of the time in the Netherlands. It's been 5 years that I work there. So I think I can say confidently that I've gained experience on how to deal with them and how to work with them. So first of all, you need to understand that it's not called Holland. So a lot of people say always Holland, and it's the Netherlands. Holland is just it's divided into 12 provinces, I think, and Holland is just a part of Holland. So when you meet somebody, try to be cultural sensitive and refer it as the Netherlands and not Holland. The good thing is that the Dutch are super nice. They are like the friendliest nationality you will ever imagine. They are super kind. I mean, coming from France, where, as you know, if you've been to France, they're not very welcoming and they're not very friendly. Whereas in Holland, everybody is just super, super nice. And everybody speaks English. Like even the plumber will speak English. Like everybody is just so well educated that you won't have any problems because their English level is really, really good. So business there is very polite, but very informal. I mean, people are dressed very casual. I mean, they can wear a suit, but they will be wearing sneakers. So it's not too formal as is in France, for example, or other countries where business is a little bit more formal. So they have a flat hierarchy. And then it's all on consensus. It's all very like a flat hierarchy. So the boss will have a less authoritative power. So it's not like in Japan where people like really are scared of the boss. Here it's like everything is on consensus. So it's not that I'm doing it because the boss says, it's all we're doing it because we agree this is the best way. So they are the example for democracy. Like the whole country is just very, it's all based in freedom, respect, in democracy, and everybody has to agree for a decision to be taken. So sometimes decision making takes time. So yeah, people will call you by your first name. So when you meet a Dutch person, you shake hands. So there they give 3 kisses, but only if you pass the first let's say ice-breaking level. So first you shake hands and you say your name, so Marcela or your last name, and then you shake hands. And if you are then in a more friendly basis, then you give 3 kisses, not 2, 3. And it gets super confusing because here in France we do 2, and we start from the right. We start from the left. No, from the right. And in Holland, they start from the left. So I always feel like I'm gonna kiss my colleagues in the mouth because it's always really awkward. And then you never know which side to start. So anyways, if you wanna avoid that at work, just extend your hand and shake your hands, and that's fine. So talking about the flat hierarchy situation, I've had a little bit of a cultural shock when I worked there because I wanted to improve in the company. I wanted to improve kind of like the employee morale and raise like the team spirit and stuff like this. So I wanted to do like an employee of the month type of thing, and that does not go well in their culture. In America, it's a perfect culture for it, but in the Netherlands, you will be ridiculized. Like people will make fun of you, like, haha, you're the employee of the month, what a loser. Like they would be ashamed. They're like, I don't want anybody to think that, they don't want to be better than anybody else, and they have a very good like work-life balance. So everybody goes home like at 4:35, everybody goes home. And if you stay late, they're like, well, why are you late? Like, don't you have like a life? Like it is not like hard work and sacrifices and stuff like this is not well received and is not like admired. And when I started working there, I was always like pushing hard, and I wanted to, you know, be hardworking and stay until late, and like, you know, and they were all like, well, calm down, you know, like this is not cool and it's not respected and it's not admired. And then I was like, wow, you know, that was a bit of a culture shock, because I have a very American education, American upbringing, you know, the mentality of, you know, work hard. So that in Holland, they are a little bit more relaxed. They can be very direct, very blunt, very honest. That's why I love doing business with in the Netherlands, because it is very... Sorry. No, ¿qué pasó? ¿Qué pasó? 1 second. So I'm back. Her food is over, so she's very sad because there is no more food. She eats a lot. So something I really like about the Dutch is that they're very blunt. So they will not be offensive or hurtful. They will just tell you things in their face, you know. So it's very easy to do business with them, because they are just so direct that there is no blurred lines. There is no reading between the lines. There is no... you know, working with the British or the Italians is very difficult, you know, because you need to understand their culture and you need to understand what they meant, because they don't say what they mean. That's why a Dutch working with the British is really contradictory, because the British are very polite and they, you know, beat around the bush a lot, and they, you know, have a lot of figures of speech, whereas ambiguity does not work in Holland. You cannot be ambiguous. You have to be direct. So that's another thing. Whenever you meet someone, there is no small talk, you know. There is no like, hey, how are you? No, you know, it's like, hey, you know, you say your last name, you know, a little bit of like small talk, but not a lot. And then you start the business and you're like, okay, what are you here for? Let's talk about it. Let's get into business really quick. Whereas in other cultures, in Brazil, it will take you almost one day. You know, you first go for lunch, then you meet the family, then you meet the entire team before you get to the point, you know. Whereas in Holland, you need to go to the point really fast. Which is okay, but it's also difficult in receiving like some feedback. Like they will just be like so direct. And also like if you're going out for restaurants or for lunch with them, they might say something like, well, you know, I'm inviting you for lunch because I want to do business with you, like, you know, or like, well, I'm paying the bill because I expect you bring me business, you know. Like they're sometimes a bit too blunt that you're like, wow, you know, like in other cultures you would never ever say that, but you know, they are just like honest and direct. So it in some instances it can come as shocking, but don't take it as shocking. There is nothing wrong with any culture. They are just different. So we talk about egalitarian consensus. You can express yourself. You can say exactly what you want. You can tell the boss what's wrong. You can be very direct, and and then everybody has to agree to a consensus before making a decision. Another thing is that they have a reputation for being, I don't want to say the word stingy, but they are being very cost conscious. So they're always trying to find ways to cut on costs. I mean, there's like jokes about it, you know, that in the Netherlands they have the highest amount of caravans because, you know, they go on holidays, they don't want to spend in hotels, and that they bring their food with them, and that, you know, it's all like, even if they have money, they are obsessed with saving money. Like, you would be ridiculized if you are spending money. Like, they have like almost punishments, tax punishments. Like cars, they have to pay a yearly tax, and luxury cars pay like a really high tax. So you won't see a lot of Ferraris and Lambos around Amsterdam, you know. Everybody is like very egalitarian. They're all driving their bicycles. I mean, this comes down to their past, because they were one of the first countries, I think, to be Protestants. So they were against the Catholic Church, and they were against the Catholic having all of the luxuries and then the treasures and the gold. They were like all about being more modest, and then their culture is still very modest. I mean, their houses, they're all similar. You won't see like a big mansion or a big showing off. Like, they're not about show off. They're not about wearing brands. You will not see too many people wearing brands. They're all about, you know, we're all the same, you know, this very socialist, very egalitarian. and they are the happiest country to pay tax. Like all of my colleagues, they're like, well, we're happy to pay tax because the system works, the education works, the hospitals are good, everything is good, so I know that my money is being used for a good cause. And then the whole system, of course, everybody complains about politics here and there, but overall they're really, really happy to pay taxes because the country as itself works, and it's amazing, and they are a role model for democratization around the world. So yeah, they are very stingy. Sometimes it can be a bit shocking. I mean, I've been in really important meetings where, yeah, they ask you to pay for coffee, or, like you have to split the bill. Something that in Italy will never, ever happen. Like I don't think I've ever paid for coffee in Italy. Like as a woman, like they are very generous. The Italians are very, very generous culture, whereas in Holland it's not like that. So if you're there, don't feel offended. I'm sure an Italian would feel super offended in Holland because they can be a little bit what's the word, you know what I mean. But yeah, so they are known for being very, very tough negotiators. So they like to negotiate, they like to get the best prices, and they're very stubborn, and they won't give up. So before you go to a meeting with a Dutch, make sure you know all your facts, that you leave a little room for negotiation, because they love feeling that they won. They love feeling that they got the best price. And it's not about like they don't want to sacrifice quality. Like they are still like very, very focused in quality, but yeah, they like to feel like they won something. So yeah, just be prepared to negotiate, and you have to stick to what it has been agreed. Like if you agree something, like a verbal agreement means a lot for them, and it can be over the coffee break. It doesn't have to be formalized, like, oh, this, like if you agree on something, stick to it. Don't change it afterwards or try to renegotiate afterwards. In some cultures, Arabic cultures, you say something but then you kind of like tweak it. No, in Holland you have to stick to what you say, and you have to promise. They are very, very honest. You can really, really, really count on them. I mean, they will pay their bills. They will stick to their word. And for them, words are very important, so the choice of words is very important. Like sometimes I say something and then they come back and they're like, they said that, or you think they said that, or they on my emails they always get back at me and they question my choice of words, because for them the right word is very important. So you don't exaggerate. In America you're like, oh my god, I love it. Do you love it? Do you really love it? It's like, okay, you like it or you enjoy it, but they really want to know, like, in America you exaggerate everything. You think this is the most amazing thing. In Holland you would never say this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen, or I've ever, like, you try to be very, very accurate on your descriptions. And then the choice of words is very, 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 very important. Okay, what else? Punctuality. So you have to be on time. So not late, of course, like not late, but also not early. Like once I was invited to a dinner party and then they texted me specifically, please do not come earlier because we have stuff to do in the house. So, and I was like, whoa, I never got a message like that. First of all, I'm Latin, I'm never early. But second of all, I thought it was funny that they actually had to specify that please don't be early because we have other things to do. So you have to really, really be on time and then leave on time. Like for them, it's very like this. And then after dinner, they will almost like kick you out. They'll be like, okay, all right, well, it's getting late, and they won't be shy to tell you, I think you should go now. And then whenever you're meeting a new person, for example, in business, you can be very social. They're very relaxed. They're very friendly. So you can ask like, how's your family? Like this you cannot do to a Russian, for example. You cannot ask to like an Arab, how's your wife? You would never say this to an Arab. Or here in France, you're always asking for vacances. What are you doing for the holidays? What are your holiday plans? This, you can talk to a Dutch person, but you cannot ask a Russian, what are you doing for holiday? What are your holiday plans? That becomes a little bit too invasive. But the Dutch, you can, be super, super social, talk about family, vacation, travel experiences. They're really, really cool about that. yeah, they like to, be act normal. Like they don't want to do like too much. That's why I'm saying they don't like to have brands or drive expensive cars. There's a saying that you should act normal because normal is already crazy enough. So that's kind of like the mentality, just like be normal, be cool, be nice, be friendly, and then you'll be accepted by the Dutch society. So many people go to work in bicycles, so their outfit is also very casual, because everything is by bike. Like even in the snow, like I've seen people in the snow, in the ice, it's freezing. I'm in the car with like jackets and scarves and gloves dying, and then there's like people passing in the bikes, like going to work in a bicycle. So that's also why they have like their super casual dress code. They're very open for other cultures, although they are one of the nationalities that are like the less racist. They are super, super, super welcoming, but they still have their stereotypes. So even though they will be welcome you and they will still like to work with you regardless of where you are, they are still in their mind a little bit stereotypical. So for example, some Dutch companies, they want to work only with Dutch suppliers. They will never ever ever work with foreign suppliers. Even if the foreign supplier is better and has better quality and better price, they would simply stick to the Dutch because they feel like efficiency is very important for them, and trust. The fact that they can pick up the phone and speak in the same language and solve issues, and the fact that they are nearby and that you know who is who, for them that's way much more important than anything else. So if you're a supplier trying to sell fiercely to a Dutch company, don't take it personal. It's not against you. It's mainly a cultural thing. It's not really a country where you do business lunch. That was one of my biggest culture shock, because of course I live in the Mediterranean and we're all very warm. I mean, here everybody goes for lunch and has a glass of wine. It is a very sociable, and it's very accepted in business as well. Like you're having a business meeting and everybody's having a glass of wine, normal. Whereas I know in America it's quite shocking. But in France it's like this, and in Holland they don't do lunch, like the first weeks I was working there, I'm like, okay guys, so what are we doing for lunch? And they were like, they all have like a sandwich behind their screens, and they eat like a cold sandwich with like cucumber or something, super strange, and then they eat it really quick, and there is not a real lunch break. Like here in France we have 2-hour lunch break, but that in Holland doesn't exist. They have 15 minutes, half an hour. They check their personal emails and they eat their sandwich. In the shipyard, sometimes I was telling everybody, like, we need to take the clients out for lunch, and we need to invite people for lunch. And it was like a bit of a surprise. They're like, why do we have to do lunch, And then when you go to the restaurants are not really full at lunch. It's they're quite empty. So there is not a lunch type of culture, but they all do dinners, and they do early dinners. So they eat really early, between 6 and 7, which for me, this is absolutely crazy. Some families even eat at 5, but that's a bit of like North European thing, I guess. It is not usual to socialize after work. So, I found it weird because in London, when I lived in London, everybody after work goes and gets a pint to the pub. It's like a cultural thing. But in Holland, everybody goes back to their families, or they do sport, or they go reading. They do their personal thing, like hanging out with their colleagues after work. They do it once in a while, like once a month on a Friday night, but it's not like a very common thing. So don't take offense from them, because like for them it's only business. So they might say something and it's not a personal thing, and then it's like business is one thing and personal thing is another thing. For them it is just business. They are a very like how do you call it, environmentally friendly. So they put a lot of emphasis in the environment. So everybody recycles, and everything is like for the environment. Everybody's a vegetarian or a vegan. It's crazy. There's like a huge hype over there. And so if you're going to organize an event, make sure you always ask for the dietary requirements. This was another weird thing for me, is that everybody's always asking you for your diet, and I'm just like, I mean, in Guatemala, nobody will ask you for your diet, like, you get what you get. If you eat whatever is there, whatever is not, and then that's it. But in Holland, they really, really respect your diet, and they want to make sure that everybody gets what they want. And there is a huge, huge trend for veganism and vegetarian. So I think it's good to know if you're inviting somebody from Holland to your house, or if you're organizing an event, to just be mindful and ask them for their diet. So even though they're super friendly and super nice, they're also very feminist. They're pro-woman. Like, women have high positions. They have equal pay in some cases, and they have maternity leave, and it's all very pro-woman. But a little bit too much for a Latina like me. Like, if you're, carrying like a very heavy table or something, nobody will come and help you. A man will pass by and they will see you carrying it, and then, or if you have to carry a very heavy luggage up the stairs, 4 floors, my colleagues will be, behind me or in front, and like, for them, they don't feel the need to come and help you because they see you as the same, which is nice. But for me, I really like the gentlemen, the Latin guys, but Germans would do it, like they would just, like, they're very kind of like gentlemanish towards women, which is something that I like. I mean, I'm pro-woman, but I'm not a feminist. But yeah, that's something else. So I think like a Latina in the Netherlands sometimes will also feel offended, or be like, my God, why didn't he help me? Or why nobody helped me? So don't get offended. It's just part of their history, and they're part of their culture to be gender, neutral and equal for everybody. So anyways, I hope you like this type of videos. I am gonna be doing more. I'm gonna do about how to do business in the Middle East, for example. I am planning to go to Dubai next week. So yeah, let me know if you like this type of videos, if you want to learn how to do business etiquette and cultural differences with doing business in other cultures, and if it's something that you enjoy. And if I forgot something about doing business with the Dutch, put it in the comments and let me know. And then that's it for me. Thanks for watching.